Penguin Random House Audio presents The Truths We Hold, An American Journey by Kamala Harris.
Preface. Most mornings, my husband Doug wakes up before me and reads the news in bed. If I hear him making noises, a sigh, a groan, a gasp, I know what kind of day it's going to be. November 8th, 2016 had started well, the last day of my campaign for the United States Senate. I spent the day meeting as many more voters as I could, and of course cast a vote myself at a neighborhood school up the street from our house. We were feeling pretty good. We had rented a huge place for my election night party with a balloon drop waiting to go. But first, I was going out for dinner with family and close friends, a tradition dating back to my first campaign. People had flown in from across the country, even overseas, to be with us. My aunts and cousins, my in-laws, my sister's in-laws, and more, all gathered for what we hoped would be a very special night. I was staring out the car window, reflecting on how far we'd come, when I heard one of Doug's signature groans. "You gotta look at this," he said, handing me his phone. Early results for the presidential election were coming in. Something was happening, something bad. By the time we arrived at the restaurant, the gap between the two candidates had shrunk considerably, and I was inwardly groaning as well. The New York Times probability meter was suggesting it was going to be a long, dark night. So we settled in for a meal in a small room off the main restaurant. Emotions and adrenaline were running high, but not for the reasons we had anticipated. On the one hand, the polls hadn't yet closed in California. We were optimistic that I was going to win. Yet even as we prepared for that hard-earned celebration, all eyes were on our screens as state after state came back with numbers that told a troubling story. At a certain point, my 9-year-old godson, Alexander, came up to me with big tears welling up in his eyes. I assumed one of the other kids in our group had been teasing him about something. "Come here, little man. What's wrong?" Alexander looked up and locked eyes with mine. His voice was trembling. "Auntie Kamala, that man can't win. He's not going to win, is he?" Alexander's worry broke my heart. I didn't want anyone making a child feel that way. 8 years earlier, many of us had cried tears of joy when Barack Obama was elected president. And now to see Alexander's fear. His father, Reggie, and I took him outside to try and console him. "Alexander, you know how sometimes superheroes are facing a big challenge because a villain is coming for them? What do they do when that happens?" "They fight back," he whimpered. "That's right, and they fight back with emotion because all the best superheroes have big emotions just like you, but they always fight back, right? So that's what we're going to do." Shortly after, the Associated Press called my race. We were still at the restaurant. "I can't thank you all enough for being with me every step of the way, all the time, I told my incredibly loving and supportive family and friends. "It means so much to me." I was overwhelmed with gratitude, both for the people in that room and the people I had lost along the way, especially my mother. I tried to savor the moment, and I did, if briefly. But like everyone else, I soon turned my eyes back to the television. After dinner, we headed to our election night venue, where more than 1,000 people had gathered for the party. I was no longer a candidate for office. I was a United States Senator-elect, the first Black woman from my state and the second in the nation's history to earn that job. I had been elected to represent more than 39 million people, roughly 1 out of every 8 Americans from all backgrounds and all walks of life. It was and is a humbling and extraordinary honor. My team clapped and cheered as I joined them in the green room behind the stage. It all still felt more than a little surreal. None of us had fully processed what was happening. They formed a circle around me as I thanked them for everything they'd done. We were a family, too, and we had been through an incredible journey together. Some of the folks in the room had been with me since my first campaign for district attorney. But now, almost 2 years after the start of our campaign, we had a new mountain to take. I had written a speech based on the assumption that Hillary Clinton would become our first woman president. As I went on stage to greet my supporters, I left that draft behind. I looked out at the room. It was packed with people from the floor to the balcony. Many were in a state of shock as they watched the national returns. I told the crowd we had a task in front of us. I said the stakes were high. We had to be committed to bringing our country together, to doing what was required to protect our fundamental values and ideals. I thought of Alexander and all the children when I posed a question. Do we retreat or do we fight? I say we fight, and I intend to fight. I went home that night with my extended family, many of whom were staying with us. We all went into our respective rooms, changed into sweats, and then joined one another in the living room. Some of us were sitting on couches, others on the floor. We all planted ourselves in front of the television. No one really knew what to say or do. Each of us was trying to cope in our own way. I sat down on the couch with Doug and ate an entire family-sized bag of classic Doritos. Didn't share a single chip. But I did know this. One campaign was over, but another was about to begin. A campaign that called on all of us to enlist. This time, a battle for the soul of our nation. In the years since, we've seen an administration align itself with white supremacists at home and cozy up to dictators abroad, rip babies from their mothers' arms in grotesque violation of their human rights, give corporations and the wealthy huge tax cuts while ignoring the middle class, derail our fight against climate change, sabotage healthcare, and imperil a woman's right to control her own body, all while lashing out seemingly at everyone and everything, including the very idea of a free and independent press. We are better than this. Americans know we are better than this. But we're going to have to prove it. We're going to have to fight for it. On July 4th, 1992, one of my heroes and inspirations, Thurgood Marshall, gave a speech that deeply resonates today. We cannot play ostrich, he said. Democracy just cannot flourish amid fear. Liberty cannot bloom amid hate. Justice cannot take root amid rage. America must get to work. We must dissent from the indifference. We must dissent from the apathy. We must dissent from the fear, the hatred, and the mistrust. This book grows out of that call to action, and out of my belief that our fight must begin and end with speaking truth. I believe there is no more important or consequential antidote for these times than a reciprocal relationship of trust. You give and you receive trust. And one of the most important ingredients in a relationship of trust is that we speak truth. It matters what we say, what we mean, the value we place on our words, and what they are worth to others. We cannot solve our most intractable problems unless we are honest about what they are, unless we are willing to have difficult conversations and accept what facts make plain. We need to speak truth, that racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and anti-Semitism are real in this country, and we need to confront those forces. We need to speak truth, that with the exception of Native Americans, we all descend from people who weren't born on our shores. Whether our ancestors came to America willingly, with hopes of a prosperous future, or forcibly on a slave ship, or desperately to escape a harrowing past. We cannot build an economy that gives dignity and decency to American workers unless we first speak truth, that we are asking people to do more with less money and to live longer with less security. Wages have not risen in 40 years, even as the cost of healthcare, tuition, and housing have soared.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?